Over the last 24 hours, we've basically seen the exact same thing we saw earlier last week. We were fighting against resistance, some very important levels, saw some rejection, and now, of course, we're seeing some red in the crypto market today, but it's happening on a much quieter note. Volume is way down. There's less volatility in the markets. Does this mean that right now we're kind of sitting on one of those red fake out days, and are we going to see an extension? Will we putz around here? Could we see some more downside? I definitely do want to talk about that in this video with you guys, what we might see moving forward. But I do want to talk about something very important that took place on the Shiba Inu weekly chart that we haven't seen in a while, that is usually a really good sign for what is coming next. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So yes, Shib is red today. Everything is red. You guys can see Shib is down about 2% at the time of filming this video. Most everything is 2, 3, 4% down. You guys can see BTC down about 2%, Ethereum down 2.48%. So basically what we did was we came up, we touched our resistance points across the crypto market, and we got rejection. We're still dealing with a lot of uncertainty in the market because, again, we're still in a government shutdown. Tariff news is all over the place. Is it going to remain? Is it going to go away? Are we going to see increases versus China? Are we going to see a trade deal come out of this? That's the market doesn't like that crap. And all it really does is it causes gold to surge. And that's where a big part of this lies right now, is a lot of capital has flocked to gold and is chasing the green candles in gold. There's eventually going to be that rotation. I'll talk about that in a different video today, because I found something else very interesting surrounding that. But where we're at for Shib right now is actually coming back down. We're testing this longer term trend. Looks like we got a nice little bounce off of this overnight. But BTC's rejection down to 200-day moving average. Ethereum building actually a big bear pennant right now, so hopefully this doesn't play out. But rejection off of that 4,100 level, and you guys can see the sharp U-turn in terms of capital in the market. We had the capital flocking back to assets over the course of the prior 3 days. Hard bounce off of this longer term trend, and now we're dealing with obviously a green day there. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with some chop, some uncertainty, and we're waiting for the market to make a more decisive move. I want to remind everybody that we do have an event that the Fed is putting on today surrounding digital assets. We have a CPI report coming this week, so there are things that maybe could put a little pep in our step. We'll just have to wait and see what happens here. But we are starting to see some more short leverage open up in the crypto market. You guys can see that right now we're at a 0.97 in terms of Shiba Inu. So shorts are currently outweighing longs in the market, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because the more shorts there are, the higher likelihood there is for a short squeeze and prices moving to the upside. But we've also seen that not work out in our favor, where it's actually been such a heavy short and negative presence. It's pushed price to the downside. Now, that being said, what we're seeing is kind of this exhaustion of speculators. I had a really good chart I showed in my ADA video. You guys should check that out if you have not. But what we've been watching over the past several weeks is speculators kind of dumping their positions, and the rest of the retail and institutional market basically absorbing that. And we've done a pretty decent job of doing that. It's like I talked about in terms of Shib. We're still sitting on structure, which is great. We've actually resumed this downside move in terms of exchange supply. Right now, we're actually on the verge of falling below 82 trillion Shib available on exchanges. So it's nice to see us finally break out of this consolidation range that we had basically been in for like five months or so. So that's all looking really good right now. And you're, again, starting to see the assets move from the hands of the impatient to the hands of the patient, which is something that is necessary to make these next move to the upside. Now, that being said, there is something I noticed on Shiba Inu, which is actually a very good sign, and we've seen several times before. So this is actually weekly, the weekly chart for Shiba Inu, and this is a red week. We're down 1% at the time of filming this video. Not a big week. But what I will say is very important here is right now, this weekly stochastic RSI has bottomed. All right, we are currently sitting at a 0.00. The last time that Shiba Inu did this was actually back here in February and again in March. And what we saw off of that was some pretty sizable rallies. That being said, obviously this February one wasn't really that good of an indicator because we did get a nice bounce off of the bottom here. We saw a Shib rebound like 50%, but we obviously went down to lower lows here, and our rally off of those lower lows, guys, was to the tune of about 63%. The time prior to that we actually saw was all the way back here in basically late summer of 2024, August of 2024. This actually led Shib to do a 200% move to the upside. Saw a very similar thing taking place back here. This was all the way, move the wrong stuff around. This was all the way back here in the bear market lows, basically June of 2023. We saw Shiba Inu actually come down here, hit dead zeros right on the nuts. And then we obviously know what Shib did following that. In the months following that, we had some dips. Obviously didn't get all the way down to zero, but dips, cross, bounce. You guys can see what happened there. All right. So this has actually been a very good thing, because again, what we're doing is washing out all the speculators, and then you have long-term conviction step in, you have whales step in. Like we've talked about, whales have been accumulating very heavily as of late, and then eventually they send prices the opposite direction. It doesn't mean that you can't go lower in terms of price. I'm not saying that right now, 50998 is where we're stopped and we're not going to go any lower. I mean, we've been lower than that this morning. We're still just dealing with kind of the last bit of uncertainty and speculators washing themselves out. And then what's left, right? You have people that are unwilling to dump their bags, and then which direction does price head? Well, you guys can figure that out. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still just kind of dealing with the early part of the week. We've dealt with a lot of early weeks like this, so I'm not making any judgment calls yet on where this week is headed. We know last week ended up pretty red and bloody as things progressed. We obviously had our bullish cross just like we did on Sunday of the prior week, and then we actually had a bearish cross come Wednesday. So I think these next 2 days here are pretty important to see if, hey, are we going to hold structure? Hey, are we going to repeat exactly what we did last week? Or is this kind of a start of a little bit different trend here? So have a great day. Show your love below. Let me know your thoughts about what's coming. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.